Welcome to this episode of EdTechPeople with your host, myself, Matthew Setchell. EdTechPeople is all about the past, present and future of educational technology. The podcast meets with some really great guests. So sit back, relax and enjoy this episode. You can also check out our past episodes by subscribing. You can watch us on YouTube now as well. So feel free to visit our website at edtechpeople.co.uk to find out about us and what we do. Hello and welcome to another episode of EdTechPeople with myself, Matthew Setchell, and I'm delighted to welcome Jack Marshall to the podcast today. Jack, great to have you on board with us for this episode.
Great to finally be here. We've talked about this for a while, I think. So yeah, it's good to finally get around to it.
Definitely. So Jack, you are working in education, directly still in the schools and as part of a trust, aren't you? Could you tell us a little bit about your role and what you get up to on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I am the Senior IT Operations Manager at DRB Ignite Trust. So we are 13, soon to be 14 primary schools located in the sort of West Midlands, mainly Birmingham and the Dudley local authorities. All of our schools are geographically quite we've got sort of 3 hubs almost within that area. So I can drive from my house to the furthest school within about 55 minutes on a good day. And we've got sort of what I class as 3 hubs. So we've got like Dudley Hub, group of 4 schools there. We've got a group of X amount down sort of South Birmingham, and then 2 sort of a little bit more north, which is really nice because it means that actually we can be really sort of operationally efficient and effective with our resource, which I'm sure we can go into later on. So my job is essentially to lead on the operational element, and that day to day make sure we are as solid as we can be from an IT or digital. I've transitioned to that digital terminology now over IT. I feel like it fits the umbrella a little bit more of what we do. We were talking about BMS systems before we started recording, and IT in education just isn't IT in education anymore, is it? It's so much more, which again I'm sure we can touch on later on. But yeah, my overall job is to make all the lights flashy and make sure everyone can get on the internet, essentially.
Make sure everything's plugged in that needs to be plugged in. And if it's not plugged in, make sure there's some batteries. So
yeah, absolutely.
So you've been at your current multi-academy for just coming up to 5 years, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, long time.
Enough. Yeah. And then before that, you've been in another trust and before that within different areas with IT support. So is this something that you've always done in terms of your career?
Absolutely. So sort of coming out of sixth form. So I'm not what I would call as an academic, which, interestingly, my director, who's a legend, and I were chatting about only on Friday, trying to get me more with some academic qualifications to help me with my career moving forward. So I've got this far without doing anything crazy, which I'm quite proud of, because now I've actually got to go and do some exams and that, which I'm not looking forward to. But essentially, left sixth form, like many of us, sort of, okay, what's next? What are we going to do? So went into climbing, actually. So I've climbed my whole life, less so now, but certainly from when I was about 10 years old, all throughout my teens. I do a lot of rock climbing. So I've been climbed abroad, climbed obviously a lot in the UK, etc. And then I went into coaching. So I did that for about 3.5 years. And then sort of as I was doing that, I met Austin Pulliston, who obviously we both know, one of probably what I would deem as the MVPs in the space. Every time I speak to him, he's always doing something new and amazing, which is great to see. So I went and worked for him directly for a few years, which really sort of gave me that stepping stone into the space. And then from there, as you said before, I joined Arden Trust, did a year with them. Then transitioned to Equitas, did 2 years, and that was through COVID as well, or right at the beginning of COVID, which is probably when we first started to chat as well, back in the day on those Friday night Zoom calls. Yes. That those good old times.
Yes.
So yeah, did 2 years there. Left F class in May 21. Joined DRB, and as you say, almost 5 years now, which is quite a long time. And we've done some really cool stuff as well, which I'd be happy to get into later on.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds really good. It's interesting that you talk about the qualification side, actually. I'd just like to touch on that for a moment because,
Mm,
much like yourself, I don't have any formal qualifications at all. Until recently, I did a Prince 2 course.
nice.
And I failed the second one, but passed the first one in it. And I absolutely hate exams. I'm not academic myself. And so I can really understand that. But also, it's interesting because at Consero they've asked me to do courses. I'm doing an apprenticeship at the moment, and so probably similar kind of feedback. You know, you can do it, but can you prove it? And it's quite interesting to hear your view as well. Again, which I think I share, is that I've never needed it. Why would I need it now?
Absolutely.
My view is always with the IT stuff, perhaps not so much with the Prince 2 stuff. Maybe that this is a difference, but it's out of date by the time that you get your qualification in it. So
100% agree. 100% agree. Prince 2, interesting, was one we were talking about because a lot of what we do is big project stuff now in multi-academy trusts, etc. It's very different, you know, from the days of IT guys sitting under the stairs in a small cupboard with a Yoda shrine, you know, etc. That's not what IT or digital in education is now. Certainly not in a trust. And yeah, I think the more operational qualifications make more sense. So Prince 2, etc. Some of those cloud, well, if you look at the cloud technology and all the Microsoft qualifications that come with that, I think it makes sense to certainly do the pre-work up to the exams as well. Because as you say, it's just evolving so quickly.
yeah.
And I think the thing I struggle with, which isn't necessarily the right mindset, this is just me being me, is okay, I can do it. So why do I need to go and get a qualification if it's going to take me 2 years to get that qualification? But for the last 5 years, I've been doing what that qualification is going to, in theory, I've got the theory knowledge to be able to do. Reality is I've done that, and I've done that, say, X amount of times now, and I've improved, etc. But that's coming from me who, you know.
Well, it's an interesting. I completely agree, by the way, and I think it's ironic, isn't it, that we both work in education, and that's our view on it, perhaps. But I
100%.
do think it's quite industry specific. I do think
Mhm.
it's a fact. I mean, I don't know about you, but I did I did a GMVQ at GCSE level, and I had to do that in the mornings and after school because I didn't have it timetabled, and then I did an A level in IT as well, and none of those have ever prepared me for anything that I've ever done.
100%.
And so the quality of the courses there for us to perhaps learn isn't quite there. And then when you do look at the content, as we both say, we tend to be people who do it, I think, rather
Mhm.
than learn it beforehand. I know that sounds really
100%
bad,
agree. No, I
but
agree.
I actually wrote a blog post this weekend on Sunday around learning by osmosis,
Okay.
because I think there's such a huge problem at the moment for people coming up into these roles because they don't have the environment that perhaps you and I had, where you're able to learn by learning from others, you're able to learn by doing and by trying. And the people who succeed and go well are the people who might break it, and we've all been there, but are the people that will turn around and stay until it's fixed. And I think that's how I know I've met somebody who's good in the role straight away. You know, if they are willing to first of all, admit to cocking something up. Second of all, stay until it's fixed. And third, you know, learn from it. That's really, really important. But I don't know what your view on this is. I don't think we're giving people the opportunity these days to do it, because when you look, the ideal role of that is obviously an apprenticeship.
Mhm.
But the problem is people see apprenticeship as cheap labor, and they'll pop the apprenticeship in somewhere by themselves, and then they can't learn from other people, or they don't build in time for people more senior because we're in this cost crushing situation where
Yeah.
you don't have the time to
Yeah.
support people. So I'm interested to get your view on that, you know, in terms of people coming into the industry and, you know,
There's so many things there that you've just said that I can break down into different things. just trying to think where to start. So again, probably similar to yourself, that mindset of, okay, let's jump in and let's do this now. I think, there's always, whenever we the terminology I use a lot is jump and build the wings on the way down. That's obviously not mine. That's been around for years. And when I post on LinkedIn, etc., I talk to that often. Similar to that SpaceX mentality of fail fast. So, we're going to blow the rocket up, but actually we see it as a complete mission success, because the payload of this mission, or whatever the terminology would be, wasn't landing the rocket on the pad or catching it in the towers or in the ocean. It was the data we get from doing the activity, which is then going to mean we can iterate faster and improve. Again, I speak a lot to that because I follow sort of SpaceX and what they're doing, and I kind of get inspired by it. And I think in a different life, maybe I should be over in Boca Chica, Texas, building rockets. Who knows? But I'm not. I'm in Birmingham, so hey. Yeah, so I've tried to transition that mentality over into certainly the culture within our digital team, within our organization. And I think you've just said there is basically what our team looks like. So we give the opportunity for people to learn. Obviously, there's that balance, isn't there, of we talk about jumping and building wings on the way down, etc. There's a line, and my team's really good at knowing when to jump and when not to jump. And that's, for me, that's the most important thing. Because we can do a lot of damage, right, if we jump too quickly. Or what I would say, and I always say to my team, is, okay, if you're going to jump, can you fix whatever you're about to break? And how quickly is that going to take you? Should you be doing that right now? It's like there's a terminology that my team sort of sometimes follows, like, what would Jack do? And then maybe don't do that, because like you've got to have a level of confidence, right? So it's a fine balance, because I've got an issue with other people and like big egos. I haven't got time for that, because I think it doesn't matter who you are, where you've been, what you've done, we should all treat each other the same. But we've all got an ego, right? Like there's a level of, we've all got that baseline. So I know that, okay, within reason, I can do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be able to get to where we need to. And if I go really wrong, enough people care about me and love me enough that I can phone them and they're going to tell me how to fix it. And that's the networking part, which I try and encourage people to do as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That sort of touches on that sort of, okay, we've got, how do we learn? Okay, we have to learn by implementing a lot of time, because sitting in front of a course, like I was doing one the other day on one of the systems we use, and I was like, brilliant, this is not telling me anything that I need to know. Well, it's given me a really, like, it was built for a 5-year-old to watch,
right?
And I'm slightly more developed than that, so it was interesting. But yeah, my team are very much the same mentality as, I would say, us, Matthew, in the sense of, we need to learn by doing. And when we do that, and certainly with the bigger projects, we make sure we do that in the right environment at the right time, so it doesn't have any effect, et cetera, et cetera.
I think that's so critical. And that's part of that osmosis learning, is that you've got somebody sat next to you to turn around and say, do you really think this is a good idea? Have you thought this through? Ask those critical questions. And one of the directors at Concero, Brad, is very much that person. He will, quite frustratingly, from my point of view, will throw up every possible thing. And some things you're like, nah, Brad, that's just never going to happen. But some things he's like, have you thought about this? And you need that balance of, like you, I'm the person ultimately that has to make the call, and push the button. That you have to have confidence to do that at some point, because otherwise you'll never
100%.
ever move forward. But it's about knowing that I've got a team around me who I can rely on with different skill sets. Lots of them are cleverer than me, and in their different areas and those levels of expertise, and making sure that they can do it. And I think if we're not surrounding people like you clearly are in your team with those people, with those opportunities, even if it's just a case of watching you press the button, that's so valuable
100%.
for people to see it. And you have to create this environment, and it is a fine line, as you say, between what's the risk, what are they going to do, is it recoverable? There's some things you just don't mess around with, your safeguarding and your cybersecurity. You can't afford to go, oopsie, I left the firewall off, or something like that. But if it's a case of somebody wants to do something, and you can create a little environment for them to do it, and you can bounce ideas, or it's less impactful because it's in their holidays or and they want to try something, they're the people that we need to encourage and make sure have the support to do that.
And one thing we've got is like we've got a load of kit that just sits in storerooms in each of our sort of mini hubs, as we call them, sort of within our team anyway. And like it's brilliant because like, okay, if a switch dies, then yeah, we can just put it in. We don't have to wait for an RMA or what that looks like. What it also means is that we've got a load of kit that people who aren't familiar with networking can use for little lab environments. You know, these core switches, these APs, these whatever else, aggregation switches, etc. That, okay, you've got some time, you want to up your networking knowledge and skill, go and build your own little environment, you know, blow it up for all I care. Show me how you blew it up, like break it. You know, we even have like a backup file of a pre-built sort of environment, which you can, you know, here you go, here's an environment. See how badly you can break it and how quickly it's going to take you to get this lab environment to stop working. Okay, they go and do that, and it's like, okay, this is how quickly, you know, you can do it in a real environment. So it's showing them that, like, you know, one small change on one single port, what that effects can have. Letting people fail. I say fail, it's succeed, but you know,
we let them learn.
Make 100%. Let them make errors in a controlled environment. So at least when they make errors in the live environment, because we all do, they can fix it, or they at least have the knowledge to fix it. And coming on to something you said before as well, big thing for me is like, we all make mistakes, right? We make mistakes all the time, most days, I would suggest. It's how you manage those mistakes for me as well. So this comes back to culture and values within the team, which again, I bang onto my guys about weekly because I think it's really important. And I don't care if you make a mistake, as long as you tell me. Because there's a couple of outcomes here, right? And we've probably spoke to this before when we've been on calls. It's like, okay, you make a mistake, you tell me, and we fix the problem. Together. And then we go learn from, 100%. We go learn from that mistake. Or you make a mistake, you don't tell me, I find out anyway, but I don't know who's done it straight away. So it's going to take me longer to find out who's done that. So I don't know exactly what's been done. So it's going to take me longer to fix.
Or why.
So it's like, or the why. So again, there's like, either way, I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
But how I find out is
important, matters.
So I'd rather you go, yeah, Jack, like I've done this and I know I shouldn't have been doing that, but I've done this and this has happened. It's like, well, brilliant. You owe me a coffee now, right? Because now I'm going to have to work late to fix, you know, and it's cultural values. And I, again, if any of my team are listening and want to correct me on this, I don't think I've ever gone like scorched earth, heads gone because someone's made a mistake or whatnot. Certainly when I've been told about it straight away. And I think that's really important. Like that's something, you know, we all have our moments and our bad days, etc. But I really think that if you've got a team that know that, you know, let's not go out to make mistakes, but essentially if it does happen, I've got their back. And it works both ways, right? I make a mistake, they've got my back.
Yeah. And that's when you know you've got a really good team. And I think, you know, we've talked when we used to go through COVID, I was still working for Laws IT within a multi-academy. And now obviously I'm working for an MSP. And it is, you know, a real change in culture. And that's the change in the culture. And it's something that, you know, regularly trying to change. But it's not as easy. You know, you're contracted to places, whereas in schools you can move it around. You're part of their team. You know, they hopefully as an education institution understand and have resources available for you to do that. Nowhere near enough for non-teaching staff compared to teaching staff for sure. But you know, you can take days and in the holidays. And if we're in my position, if we're not out doing work, we're not out making money to keep the business going. And it's not about making a profit. It's about paying people's wages and making sure that they, you know, you're treating them fairly. And but we have recently restarted half-termly when we pull everybody off timetable for a day and bring them back to the office and allow them to talk and interact with other people doing the same job as them, which is one of the benefits of an MSP. You're part of a wider team, you've got that and people in different departments. But just to allow them to come in. And do you know what's been great is the customers are fully supportive of it. Even those that you know, you're fully managed and they're in a secondary school and they won't have any IT support on that day. Well, if you plan it with them far enough in advance and you've still got the help desk, we still have a core team if something goes crazy, you know. And of course, if you're running networks that are good enough that they don't just fall over randomly, which we can all aim for, if not deliver, you know,
And it doesn't cost a lot either.
No. Yeah. Well, this is one of the things for the MSP as well, is that the schools don't have to pay for that support.
Exactly.
That training and
Exactly.
that delivery, that's something that they get for it. But yeah, trying to marry up the two. And I do think it's such a cool place to be where you are with that team, and be able to grow them and develop them and move it on to them. People are there generally in the education roles because they're not highly paid. They're there because they want to work in that field. They either want to learn to develop themselves because they want to go to the next stage, which is fair enough, and you've got to support them doing that, or they're committed to it because this is what they do and this is what they enjoy doing, and they can see the impact of the work that they're doing. Neither of those are opposing. I don't think anybody should stay somewhere for the sake of staying somewhere. If they're using it, great, as long as they're doing a good job while I'm employing them. I'm really happy that they go on to it as well. So you're probably, very much like me, you've probably had some people that you've worked with that's gone on to great and wonderful things after
100%.
moving on.
And something that I'm a big believer in, as right at the beginning when I was talking about, okay, where have I been? What have I done? Like early on in my career, I sort of did a few jobs quite quickly because the classic, there's the element of, and 20-year-old Jack would never admit to this, but X amount of years later, EQ's higher, more socially aware, have done a few things, have failed at a few things, life experience, etc. Younger, I was like jumping between roles. I was like, let's get promotion, let's move quickly, let's earn more money because need to buy a house, have a shiny car, etc., etc. And I think when you're in that mindset, that's great. But like you got into then, I had some really important people in my life supporting me, and actually I left a few roles where people were like, oh, this is a bad decision, you shouldn't do this, and actually turned out to be the right decision for me. I maintained, again, Austin, I wouldn't be here today without him. Unfortunately, I see him most weeks. We either run together or he answers from like, oh, I've broke this, or how do I fix this, or AI, talk to me about this. So like, I'm fortunate enough to have him as a mentor in my life. Couple of my directors, like my immediate director, Alvin, and director of estates, Jeff Bagley, brilliant mentors. Again, a lot older than me, have done a lot of things in a lot of different areas, which again, really positions us nicely as an operational force within our trust. It sounds quite intense, an operational force. I don't mean that in a scary way, but like as an enabler, it's, I've got people who've done a lot of things in a lot of different areas, sort of guiding me. And that's outside of education, which is really interesting. Both of their main careers weren't within education. So we've got that business mentality of, okay, how do we implement things at pace, at speed, but doing it right? And having them guide me and teach me over the last, what is almost now 5 years, has also been really beneficial to my development. So like you say, I think it's really important that we develop our people, and when they choose to leave, we support them on that. So, if I can't give them a promotion or guide them any further, it's like, tell me, who have you applied for? Who do I need to phone to tell them how good you are? Like, that's my default. I don't want you to go, obviously, but I'm not going to stop you because, it's going to cause me a headache, because that means I've got to train someone new, or I've got to change how we do stuff. Actually, it's like, you're going to go work for Kinsero. Right, I'm going to call Matt. Matt, this guy is really good. This is his pros. These are his cons, but you can work with that. I know you can. I promise you it's worth it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to enable that growth as much as I can, because I've had people support me. And I know how hard it can be as well. Certainly when you're earlier on in your career, I think it's a catch-22, and you might be able to speak to this more because you've obviously got a much bigger team. And again, you've probably done this, you have done this a lot longer than I have. I think when you're younger, it's easier to get the certain positions, like the technician roles and that sort of first, second line, and jumping from first to second line is probably quite easy. If you show a little bit of promise over 12 months, you can probably get in second line, I would suggest. But moving to that senior position young is probably more of a challenge. I know I joined DRB at 23, like 3 months into being 23, I think it was. And I joined, and I don't think I quite realised what the job was fully going in. Like day one, we formed Central IT as the organisation for the trust. Before that, it had all been separate schools, doing 9 schools at the time doing what it was doing. And fortunately, I had Alvin as my director, so it was like, right, you got this. This is what we're going to do. And the person I was then to now, and that development, like, is uncanny. Like, you know, young, loud, you know, not afraid, etc. And I'm to a point, I'm still that, but you become more aware, don't you? You like, okay, actually, that's probably not worth me calling out, or that's not worth me getting involved in, or you decide what's good, what's bad.
Take a
And that's
breath.
development, 100%. And actually sit back and listen sometimes. But I think that big thing around young people sort of moving from that sort of first, second line support into that, you know, either that's a senior third line position or that's like a management position. Like that's probably the harder jump.
Well, let's dive into that for a minute.
Yeah.
Because one of my views is that too many people get made a tier 3 or a network manager or even a level 2 just because they've been around long enough as a reward for staying put. The roles are really different. You know, again, I've written a blog post on this a little while ago now, you know, in terms of the structure of it. The people who are good technicians that doesn't mean that they're going to be a fantastic network manager, trust lead, CTO, whatever they are, because the skill sets are different. Now they are complementary. Like I'm better CTO and strategic person when it comes to it, because I still go on the ground and deliver IT support. I still go into schools. I still talk to people regularly. I can do that. But there are a lot of technicians and brilliant technicians that I work with who wouldn't be able to do that side of the job because it's a completely different skill set. And there's a lot of people, you know, like our COO within Consero isn't technical. Like she knows what she needs to know. And she's great because when doesn't perhaps follow why it's happened, she'll come and ask, get a response. And then that means she knows it, which is fantastic. And that not being technical is actually a blessing because sometimes she reminds us of the importance of other elements of it and brings different viewpoints on it. But so she can be in that leadership, but she couldn't be a first line technician, you know, that she couldn't do that because they're different jobs. And I get frustrated from seeing, because you can imagine in my role, and I'm sure you've been in these as well. Sometimes you're called into schools where people aren't performing and, you know, or you've got to deal with staff that aren't performing. And you think to yourself, well, they're not performing because they've not had any support into this role and this change. And you're now asking them to do strategic management. And actually, this guy was or girl was a really good technician. They're not a manager. They're not,
100%.
you know,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like you're going to have some really good people who are really good at what they do technically. Probably the guys who are having the Yoda Shrones off of the time, etc. But you ask them to manage a team of X amount of people or a service element within a wider team or whatever that looks like. And that's not who they are. Like that's not what they know. They might not want to have to go and sit in a room or around a table for a day and talk about X, Y, and Z. I get that. You know, sometimes I don't want to do that because I want to do technical. And again, I think I come from that position of I've done the technical and I've done it to a level that, okay, cool, I understand that. So now I've sort of transitioned to what would I want as a boss if I was them? Like, what does that look like? What does a leader look like for me? Again, don't get it right every time, but I've got that mentality. I've always wanted to progress in my career. And so I've allowed myself, okay, actually, I've got to not just be technical. I've got to, like I said before, I've got to develop my people skills where needed. I've got to be able to, you know, be told no. Jack doesn't like being told no, so that's fun.
Nor does Matt.
But again, and it's not personal, right? There's business need, there's business reasons for everything. So yeah, I think it's important that we develop our people right. I think it's important that we don't force people into positions that they don't want to be in. So the flip of that is actually a lot of people are happy once they hit a certain position. Like you said before, been into, you know, we've got 14 or we'll have 14 schools in our trust now, my previous roles. And then I go in and help schools where needed as well, because as you've seen, sort of, we're quite local to each other. There's a lot going on in education, right? There's a lot of schools around. There's a lot of schools that aren't interested in the Birmingham, West Midlands area. And it's wild. Like we could probably talk for a whole separate episode just on how wild the IT estate is. But like, there's a lot of people who are trying to do some really good stuff and aren't resourced. Is probably one of them. Unfortunately, some of them don't know what they're doing. I think like you know, it's not nice to say, but you see some stuff and you're like, okay, how's that got to this point if you've been here this long? So there's that element of it. I think a lot of them, or a lot of people, are willing. They just need that help. So when someone comes in and is like, look, you know, this is where you're at, but we can help you do this, and this is all you need to do. Like, it's not big. Like, all you need to do is do this, this, and this. They're like, oh, brilliant. Give them a bit of a roadmap. Go away, check in with them. It's amazing how much people can do if you just enable them to do that.
And I think it's always quite clear. I think one of the skills that I've developed is knowing if the person that I'm talking to is going to be one of those people who will take that advice and just needs to be enabled, as you said, just needs to be supported, just needs somebody technical and with a voice to speak up for them, because that isn't 100%. Their skill set. But I always joke that the only reason that I'm, you know, always talking for Coursera is I'm the only one in the room full of geeks who's confident enough to stand up and talk. And it's, you know, it's a skill to be able to do that. And I wouldn't say I'm any good at it, but I'm the only one who does it. So that's why I'm de facto. But I think.
So I was just going to say, it's about bridging the technical divide, I think is, I can't remember where I got that from. I'm gonna say it was an Austin line because it sounds like something to say, but it's like our job is to bridge the technical divide, right? When we're in our positions, I mean, you're obviously much more important than I am, but
no, not at all.
you know, we're in those positions where actually we're going to sit with our teams and geek out about X, Y, and Z and have a great time. And then 10 minutes later, I'm going to be sat in a meeting with a head teacher or COO or director of X or Y. And then I'm going to be like, okay, so we've got this really shiny stuff. We've got all these flashing lights. Look how cool it is. And they're like, what does that mean? Like, what does that do? Like, you know, why do you need ether lighting? It's like, because it looks cool. No, there's a reason for it. But, you know, like, it's about explaining to them why we're doing what we're doing. And I'm fortunate, again, we're an established team within our organization. All the schools know us. All of our schools are literally the same from an infrastructure point of view, from a device point of view. So we are as standardized as you can come. The only exception is, like, obviously, if a school's joined us today compared to 6 months ago, we just make sure we buy the latest version of the kit. So it might be the latest version of X switch or the latest version of X laptop, but the way we do everything is the same. And that makes everything from an operational point of view from my team super easy. Anyone can go anywhere, fix anything, because it's the same. Secure by design, secure by default, etc., etc. But we've really been hard on, let's keep it all the same so it works. No, it's not over-engineered, it's secure, and it gives us what we need. Now, are we perfect? Absolutely not. But we've made a lot of key decisions to ensure that IT, the uptime, isn't a blocker. You know, these blockers, enablers, I'd like to think we're more of a strategic enabler for teaching and learning, safeguarding, etc., etc. I think the question, I've gone off piece, I do this all the time, but
that's okay.
I think the core thing for me, it's like, I don't want to present a digital problem. I want to hear what the problem you've got from a teaching and learning or an operations point of view or whatever that looks like is, and tell you what digital solution we can give you to fix that problem. Like, I don't want digital to be, you know, the header, this is the problem. No, let's enable the solution to whatever the problem is you're using digital. Again, easy to say. There's always going to be things that go wrong. Technology is technology. As much as I wish I had a direct line to AWS a few weeks ago, Jeff Bezos, I don't. So I'm going to go get my coffee and we'll wait for this cloud to come back on. But yeah.
I think there's some really interesting points there to dive into, because like you, when I worked for a trust, I was very much going down the road of standardization and all the things that you talked about, you know, knowing the system that you're putting in, being able to learn from previous installations, move it forward, enhance it, are really important. And so is the ability to train your team and to what they're doing it. And so is the ability for the end user to be able to walk into any room in your trust and know what they can expect. Know when they log onto a device, what software is installed, how they can present. So IT isn't a problem, it is a solution, as you rightly said. It's interesting from my point of view because I don't get that luxury anymore. I get what schools, some schools listen, and a lot of our schools have got very similar setups as a result. But unfortunately, when you're being paid to do what the school wants, some just don't listen. Have you come up against schools talking about, and I had this when I was working for the Catholic Multi Academy, we had an outstanding secondary school in there, and I was like, well, we're outstanding, so we need to do it this way. And I'm like, well, the other 40 odd schools that I'm supporting are doing it this way, and they're actually doing okay with it. It's doing it. Do you have a lot of people pushing back from that? You obviously, if you're a Microsoft school, how many times have you been asked to go Google or Apple?
Never.
Or
Never,
never,
never.
really.
So it's actually really interesting. So we're like, we're 365 house, love it. Enter to the world. I like to say we're full cloud, but there's that always that one thing which is door access in every migration. But outside of that, we're full cloud. So we're almost full cloud, cloud first.
Yes,
and,
that's the thing, isn't it? Cloud first.
Cloud first because of bloody doors. Do you know what I mean? And I know how to fix that, but I can't. What we can't do as an organisation is justify the cost to go to fix that for what value add. Jack gets to stand on stage and say, actually, we're cloud only and we have zero. Do you know what I mean? When the reality is, most people who say they're cloud only, for example, have probably still got CCTV and VR sat on site. So technically, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
We've done a lot now. Circling back to your original thing, no, we've not had anyone go, we're Google. But I think that might just be by luck that we've not had a school join a trust who are full Google. We've had some who are using Google for devices. Again, I'm going to use the word fortunate right now. We've been quite fortunate as a team to not have a school join the trust who, so far from an IT point of view, is super shiny, doing everything really right.
Right.
So we get to come in and go, here's a load of shiny new kit, and you're going to come back next week, and cause we'll go in on a Saturday and make it all. If it's really bad and we can't wait, let's go in on that Saturday, and we'll go and fix. We'll do the infrastructure change. Then we'll do the migration, and again, like you said right at the beginning, that's values and culture around the team, and they want to do that. It's like,
absolutely.
And it's to the point. My team today, like, we need to change a rack in one of the schools because it's filled up. We've changed it once. Should have just put a big one in originally. We didn't. Got to go back and do that. And the guy's like, let's go in on Sunday morning and do it. And I'm like, let's not, because it's a Sunday morning. And they're like, no, come on, let's do it. And I'm like, you guys have just had, like, they've got like 6-month-old babies, both of them. And they're like, no, let's go and do it. And I'm like,
that might be why they want to get out of the house.
That might be right. Maybe that's why. But like, that's how fortunate I am to have a group of guys, who want to do that. So 365 House haven't had much challenge around change from an IT point of view. Some for the right reasons, always happy with that. But from an infrastructure point of view, everyone sees what we're doing, the reasons we're doing it. No major challenge there. Often the biggest challenge we have is pupil devices. Obviously, naturally, so all of our pupil laptops are DFE COVID laptops. Yeah, for sure. But do you know what? We've gotten to the point where if they follow the guidelines that we say, they actually work. You log on within 20 seconds, even today, right?
Yeah.
So if it's not just had the lid closed and it's not been on for 2 years, do you know what I mean? It's just got 100 caching things. Like, if it's restarted, open the lid, restart it. That's what I always say. Right. Log on. First time, log on, 20 seconds. If you've been on it recently before, even quicker, right? 'Cause your profile is still there. Full in tune, etc., etc. We don't deploy thousands of different apps.
No.
It's all cloud apps for the most part. I think the only thing we deploy are like 365 apps and like Scratch. And like, those are the like end, obviously safeguarding stuff, but like, those are the end user.
Yeah, it's
apps.
funny, isn't it? Because Scratch, which is an IT coding program, is normally for the IT department, and is normally one of the few pieces of software you do have to roll out on your up-to-date setups. And there's a key theme here that I'm seeing as well, and it's that simplicity. You mentioned it earlier on. We deliver a system that is simple because what we've done is we've picked the right elements to go on it. We don't try and be all to everybody. I think that's really interesting. I actually starting to notice a bit of a change in that though, because that's my way of doing it as well. And I'm there with you. You know, single platform, and I've started to go out and do more and more audits, what we call a discovery audit. So I go into a school and it's not a technical audit, so I don't go and look at every access point. What I do is, you've got this make and model of access point Wi-Fi system. This is whether it's compatible with DFE, and this is what's changed. And the most important outcome of that is actually telling them which order to change it in. You know, if they're complaining that devices are slow, is it the devices or is it the Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Because they can only do one at a time, generally speaking. But I think I've been doing more and more Google recently in the last 6 to 12 months. I was lucky enough to go to their HQ, and we had a day there, and it was quite, a career highlight to have spoken up there. And I really enjoyed it because I used to be, as you probably know, somebody who was fully Microsoft, and actually, why would you use Google? You could search my name on things and see comments of me being like, well, why would you do that? I don't know. But I am now more of the opinion is that actually Chromebooks are bloody good at what they do. As affordable student devices that are simple to manage, they're good. Google Classroom, if you're using it already or you're not using a platform, that it is up there, and especially with the latest stuff that they've had coming out, it goes in I think in waves. The investment, Microsoft aren't investing in education at the moment. Their team have all moved to Adobe. And so it's all Copilot coming from them at the moment. And don't get me wrong, Google's a lot of Gemini, but there's a lot of other bits that they're seeing, right, actually, if we want people to use our systems and these kind of things, we want them to use Gemini, then we've got to have the good base system. What I've enjoyed in a couple of schools recently is marrying the two together. So single sign-on, but you always have to choose a base. And I turn around and say there's a base of 3 key elements: where your users sat and managed, where your devices sat and managed, and where's your data sat and managed. And that includes like your email and stuff on that. You have to have a default platform for all of those and all those different elements on it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see, as your DFE devices come end of life, could you be tempted by?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Go on then.
So our newest school came online. I can't remember the official conversion date. Let's say 1st of September, right? Yeah. So we did some work and obviously did what we do. Obviously the pupil devices were not up to scratch. They had PCs who were probably older than I was in a computer room, etc. So naturally ripped them all out. What do you think we replaced them with?
Were they PCs you ripped out?
So PCs and laptops and old iPads.
I would say probably a low-cost Windows device or Chromebooks. One of the two.
So we replaced laptops and PCs with Chromebooks, and
makes sense.
Haven't had any, like, outside of me forgetting to add the subdomain in so they could actually log on to them. Haven't had any issues with them. So Chromebooks for the hardware, like you've just said. 365 is still the IDP. Works really well. Really well.
You take the best of both platforms. Intune is incredibly powerful, but sometimes it's too powerful, too complicated for you. That's kind of Microsoft.
Although what I will say, and this is just because I've always been a Microsoft house, sometimes when I need to find a setting in Google Workspace, can I find it? No, I can't. Can I find Copilot to tell me where it is? No, I can't. Does ChatGPT tell me where it is? No, it doesn't.
Do you know what?
Does Gemini?
Do you
know what I mean?
Setting up loads of Smoothall stuff recently and setting it all up. Their document, I fed this back to them, so I feel comfortable saying it.
I think I've potentially fed back what you might be about to say. Go on.
Their documentation is awful for their stuff, and they link to Google pages which don't give you the specifics that you need and have changed or don't exist. And actually, I tell you, actually, I used BitTitan Migration Wiz this summer to do a load of work.
Any good?
Good, yes. Yeah, we migrated I mean, it was my job over the summer to migrate 13,500 people. So managing to
Easy.
do them by myself was
Saturday job, innit? You
yeah,
go out for a
it was
coffee with
easy.
halfway
Yeah,
through.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And when they all come back on the 1st of September, there was no issues. Oh,
Of
those
course not.
13,500
Of
people?
course not.
No, no, no.
Flawless. You even
Yeah,
had time to go on
exactly.
holiday, didn't you?
They all listened to us before.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I quite often struggle to find instructions, and actually, it's not something that AI is that good at, because the pages
Yeah.
change that quickly.
Yeah.
But I'll flag in there. How many times have you known Microsoft to call something completely different the next time you log in than what it was before? It might be in the same bloody location,
Yeah.
but the name of it is going to be different.
I do you know what? Do you know what I haven't heard for a long time is Azure Active Directory. I think Entra ID might be the first thing
that you've
that
seen adopted.
I've seen widely, like people. I never hear AAD anymore. Like
No.
Entra, I just hear Entra, and
But
even
it's
like
when you log into the 365 admin and it's under identity. It doesn't say Enter at all.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt the podcast, and we'll jump back in shortly, but I want to introduce the sponsors who make EdTechPeople possible. All are recognisable brands to anyone working in EdTech. Smoothall need no introduction to those working in schools, with 1 in 3 in the UK using their internet filtering, which provides real-time filtering wherever the user is and on any device. They also provide Smoothall Monitor, which is an essential safeguarding solution which allows monitoring of devices and captures for schools. You can find out more about Smoothall Filter and Smoothall Monitor and the other advice and support they've got available at smoothall.com. Next up, Secure Schools are an education-only cybersecurity team working to help schools understand the security within their schools and, crucially, provide support and training for those working within the school or trust. Recently, they have released their free Cyber School tool, allowing schools to assess their cybersecurity easily by answering key questions and getting a dashboard with all their results. Find out more by visiting their website at secureschools.com. First Pillar provide extensive support to schools in a wide range of areas. Their founder, Emma Gray, is an experienced school business leader who now works to support schools in all their operational needs, leaving them to focus on educating. You can see all the services that Emma offers at First Pillar and some great blog posts by visiting her website at firstpillar.co.uk.
Hello listeners of EdTechPeople, I'm Craig. When I worked in a school, I noticed how challenging it was for teachers to find and reserve shared spaces. That's why I created Classroom Bookings, an easy-to-use online room booking system. With Classroom Bookings, staff can reserve rooms at any time from anywhere. Designed for schools of all sizes, it supports multi-week timetables and flexible period times. Plus, the cloud service is priced at just £149 per year with no limit on the number of rooms or users. Try it free today or find out more at classroombookings.com.
You've got these schools and your team now. I'm interested to know about that support delivery. So one would imagine you have a central help desk.
We've just migrated again, yeah.
Yeah. And you have, so do you have that permanently manned, throughout the day?
Yeah, so again, how we do it is probably completely differently to the norm as such.
Okay.
So we were, historically, I'm a Zendesk boy. I was we put that in when I was at Arden, we'd put that in when I was at Equitas. Austin, when I worked for him originally, was on Zendesk. Austin was the Zendesk guy for a long time as well. He's recently moved platforms. So we've gone from Zendesk to Halo.
Okay, interesting.
I've got that wrong. So we were never Zendesk at DRB.
Okay.
So we went for Atira at DRB.
Right, okay.
And we had Atira for 4.5 years, something like that. And in September, we went from Atira to Halo. And Atira loved the platform, worked really well for us. Very RMM IT specific, right?
Yeah.
So it's got a load of really cool tools for remote management, patching, like a lot of these other systems. You can pay your different tiers, you get different feature sets. We really liked it. It worked really well for us. But it did a very specific job we needed at a very specific time. Certainly at the very beginning, they had like a network discovery tool, can't remember what it's called, but you can install it on a couple of DCs and it basically deploys the tier agent to everything it can find, devices, Windows, switchy, you know, you can monitor everything. And that gave us a really, really good understanding of our estate when we didn't know anything back in May 21, because the way IT had formed, you know, people had left at the same time we were coming in. I had a whole new team for the most part, etc., etc. So it gave us a really good, gave us some really good functionality and a lot of visibility. And it did as well for as long as we were using it. We've now gotten to the point where, again, like a lot of us in IT, digital and education, we sort of, because of what we understand, we can offer advice and we can implement things in other ways. So working with our estates team at the moment to roll out central estates functionality. And it's like, they were like, oh, we'll just get a tier of licenses, we'll do this, this, and this. And actually, the pricing structure doesn't allow for that in any sort of feasible way without spending significant money. But also, it's not the right platforms. Help desk was like one very small part of a tier that probably wasn't their primary focus on development. So it was like, okay, what solution are we going to use? We settled with Halo because we could do basically any directorate we've got and wants to be involved, we can have that estates, that support, whatever that looks like. So yeah, we've migrated over to Halo recently. Love it. Find the configuration really challenging, which is fun. And we've got a really good Halo consultant on board, who's been teaching me for the last month. And she's really good as well.
I'm definitely going to probe you a bit further on that offline, because
yeah, of course.
I've always been fresh desk. Well, not always, but for at least the last 10, 15 years. And primarily because we need a help desk. That's our core function. We don't have, when I was in the trust, we set up, you know, help desks for, as you say, estates and even HR, and it worked in terms of being a help desk. But I think we miss out on a lot of the integrated stuff. Traditionally, before recently, like for the MSP model, you know, like fresh service or fresh service and stuff like that. They assume you're all in a single organization, and obviously, if you're an MSP, that's not the case. But now, and it hasn't been a while since I've checked. Sorry, and now I think there's a lot more possibilities there. But in terms of actual
the original
structure,
question. Yeah. So the original question.
Yeah.
So again, went off piece. I apologize.
No, it's fine. It's very interesting.
So there's 6 of us in our team. That goes from my director all the way down to our technicians. We're really fortunate. So everyone knows their place in the team, right? So everyone knows who's who in the sense of your roles, responsibilities, positions. So when that's needed, everyone aligns, and, you know, we all treat that hierarchy and respect where needed. 99.9999% of the time, we're a team of guys who work together. I would say gals, but there's no gals on the team. Nothing against that. It's just we happen to be a team of guys at the moment. We all work together. Anyone's got an idea, etc. So like nothing's off limits in that way. We have really good relationships. You know, we go for brunch. We go out on weekends. You know, I don't drink, but you know, most of the team don't drink, so we'll go and do an evening curry or whatnot. So we've got a really solid culture within the team. What that means, the staffing structure on the team looks like is, we all man the help desk. So instead of, you know, technician one's job, I will sit in front of my Surface and stare at Halo until it goes ding and respond to that ticket. It's like, okay, you're going to go and do a job that matters, and as things are popping up, you can reply in parallel. And that's how we work. So here's another question. 14, well, so we're first in schools officially. We're already kind of supporting our 14th who's coming online over the next sort of X amount of months. How many open tickets do you think we have at the moment?
See, I'd put it maybe 30 or 40.
Yeah. So if give me 1 second.
You're going to log in now and see, aren't you?
Yeah. So we got 7 tickets open, and that's average. Anything 10 or under is average.
Do you ever go home with them all closed?
Like on a Friday sometimes, and sometimes I see that 0 and I'm like, lads, what is that like? Did we just work really hard today, or have some tickets been closed that maybe are going to be reopened on Monday? But no, like, again, no, and I'm okay with that. Like we target that for, you know, summer, end of the summer or whatnot. But all of our issues again are like, it's do we ever raise major incidents? No, because like, oh, you've lost your charger, your Type-C port on your laptop has stopped working, which therefore means you can't do anything in your classroom because that one cable now does everything. And that sort of goes back to our previous thing of like, you know, most of our teachers know they can go into our classrooms as a Type-C cable. That's all they need.
Yeah.
And away you go. And that's that standardized. It's not everywhere yet. I'd say we're like 80% there. And where we've like not replaced screens because, you know, we're not going to go spend X amount of money replacing a screen that's perfectly okay. We've put like Type-C hubs behind the screen and then a single USB-C out of that. So it does everything charge as well still, etc. So we've tried to fill those gaps in other ways. But yeah, so the way we man it is it's really dynamic. We all, you know, we can click on, we can see what's open, who's working on what. And then also, go on.
Sorry, go on. No, go on.
I was just going to say, like, no one cares if someone else jumps on a ticket they're working on. So,
right. Okay,
I like, and I say no one, like, sometimes, like, there's a few mumbles and that, but, like, if you don't update your ticket and we don't know, that's why what someone else has gone on and updated the ticket. But that's just like classic, you know, you're doing 100 things, you forgot to update the ticket, so Jack's come along and fixed the problem, what was already fixed, and then, which therefore means Jack's now broke it again. You know, like, but for the most part, it's basically, we know what's going on. Everyone knows like the data, the tags, etc. So we use internal notes loads. We use, what do they call it in Halo? Is it statuses still? Yeah. So we've got like the status column, so you can tag it in progress, update is. We've got a few custom tags, which sort of make sense to our team, so we know not to touch something, or what we call holding. So if something's in holding, it's like, you know, maybe a request has come through and we're just trying to work a few things out with it. It's not uncritical, but it's like, okay, what do we do? So at least if there's no reply or there's an internal note, everyone knows what's going on. So we've got some really streamlined processes. We're working on doing certain things better now. So now we've transitioned to Halo and we've got a lot more power. So we're trying to look at following sort of the ITIL framework better. But like, again, I was again chatting to the guys last week. I think if someone else who had run help desk for years came in and was like fully ITIL trained, done this and this, they might be like, we must have SLAs that do this and this. We must do this and this. We must operate in that way. But because of the culture within the team and everyone knows their role and how we operate, we don't do certain things that other help desks might do, like you guys will probably do, because again, the scale you're operating at, etc. But it doesn't affect us because we've got like 7 open tickets that are actually, and that's accurate data, and that's, I could run a report for the last X amount of months, and there's a common trend there, you know, like, except for September, which is always chaos because no matter how much you plan, it's like, oh, this guy started, and it's like, who are you? Like, like where did you spawn from? You know, so yeah, like, again, I chat with colleagues in other trusts and etc. And a good friend of mine's CIO for this massive company, like global company. I'll leave it unnamed for obvious reasons, but like, I speak to him and how they do it, and another great mentor in my life. I'm like, again, really fortunate on that side. And he sort of almost took some of the ways that I run my team. He's trying to get his, well, I guess his leaders of however many layers down before it actually gets to it, to do ways in like different ways, giving ideas, because again, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it works for us and it works really well. And as we've scaled and grown, it's scaled and grown with that. It's not like it's only worked at 9 schools and then we've got bigger and it's all just, you know, this is how we've always worked. So I think it works. I think, you know, if I left and someone came in and replaced me and had their, like anything, have their own ways of doing things, they'd potentially change certain things. But for us, it works really well. We're sort of rolling out what Halo calls, I want to say it's workflows. So it's like the tickets have got stages on, so you must complete sections in this sort of like an instant has then got child tickets on. Again, we're doing some of that, but only where needed. Like a normal, we don't want to create a crazy workflow for someone who needs a password reset for a student.
So it's the thing with ITIL, I think, and I learned this through Prince too, is actually, you know, if somebody comes in, they can probably pick out which bits actually are following it, and actually, you know, a well-run team will be following ITIL. It will be following, you know, Prince 2. It might not be called the same exact stuff, but you generally find that they're following on from that. With your help desk, it's a really interesting point, I think, because I saw some posts on this, I think on LinkedIn earlier on, and people talking about, oh, you need to put tickets in, you need to log things as tickets. And I think we all know that that's important and why it's important in our roles, to get those tickets in. But do you find, in terms of logging tickets, do you still let people do it via email, for example?
Yeah, so we are email to ticket.
So they don't use the portal?
They don't now. Again, now we're on Halo. We've got a much more powerful portal. So I've been slowly building some stuff out in the background, doing a little Black Ops stuff, some of my favorite shadow, and living in the shadows, getting ready for some slow transition of options. So there's a load of, again, we can do these different things in Halo. So like many other platforms, I would assume, we're moving all of our ID card requests as a what would be a form in Halo, but it basically just raises a ticket or a task. Again, we've done that. We're doing that with some of the other things: CCTV request forms, subject access requests, all that sort of stuff. We're building the portal. The reason we've done that is because eventually it'll be good to get staff to raise tickets through the portal as well.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying, right, we're changing the way we've got you to raise tickets for what is almost the last 5 years, where actually everyone raises tickets all the time. It's very rare that someone comes up to us and says, oh, I've got this problem. So we've really got a really strong culture around it, and I don't want to break that. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to put something else in place. Now, often we sit down and go, actually, why don't we launch the web portal so they have to fill in these fields and we get the specific information?
Yes.
Put a character limit on the subject thing so I don't get the whole email in the subject line, for example. But we are still full email to ticket. They can raise through the portal if they know it's there and they want to. If we were to raise a ticket on behalf of a user, because let's say we've gone into a room and it's having an immediate impact, etc., let's fix the problem now. We will go back retrospectively, click new ticket, fill in the fields, away you go. But yeah, we still allow email to ticket.
So it's been. I'm with you. People log it, and that's a really good culture. But actually, for me, it's the next phase on from that now. And I think you, as you mentioned, it's about collecting the right data. And I think when we're delivering the support, we probably, definitely both have the same. We want to resolve it in as few interactions as possible.
Yep.
And so that it doesn't reopen. That's fast is important, but I'd rather it was done right and not reopened and take a little bit longer to do it. And I think if you've got, especially with AI now, built into there, and it's not so much like providing the answers, but if it could turn around and say, this doesn't actually give them the information that they need. We've all been there and we've had the emails saying my printer's not working. You're like, okay, well, I manage 600 printers. Which one of those 600 were you trying to print to? Because I don't have that context. I can't see your screen at that particular time. But actually, I think the biggest, and I'm going to give this idea out to everybody for free, just put a take screenshot button on the goddamn page where they log the ticket.
Great shout.
That's all I need them to do. That is all I need them to do. And if they could do that, then I would shift to them immediately, because, as you well know, being able to get a full screen screenshot will give us all the information that we need to know of a particular issue.
Yeah. I think I'd go as far as to put that take screenshot button in. Now, if somehow, I don't think Halo does it, I don't know, but if you could then click the button and it just takes a screenshot, something like that, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But if not, it's just put, please attach screenshot brackets, Windows Shift S, is it on a Windows device?
Yeah.
And then you've got the snipping tool, and then it's going to copy it to the clipboard or whatever. It's like I'm on a Mac for reference, so I'm like Command Shift 4, and all I do all day is Command Shift 4 space screenshot, Command Shift 4 drag. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how people live without screenshots, because all I'm doing is screenshotting things all day.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a great point there, I think.
Yeah. Even better would be, we're going to give you a 5-second countdown. Show us on your screen what you were trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. So press a button, countdown starts. And I actually had someone send me, they'd run a ticket, and then unfortunately I don't have to worry about tickets too much anymore, but every now and then I jump on and help and needed. But I was updating it, and ping, Teams popped up. and they'd screen recorded whatever the issue was, sent it me on Teams. I was like, we could have sent that in the ticket, but we'll ignore that. Like, you've sent me it on Teams, and that's fine. And it was like, oh, perfect. And it was like, boom, boom, boom. And away you go, problem solved 5 minutes later. It's easier again for us to say, right? Because we then go back to, you've got 30x tiny humans running around.
Exactly.
And like, you know, certainly our schools, there's various, you know, it's not just 30x tiny humans. There's so much going on everywhere that actually we've got. Just getting a ticket is, you know, oh, I need help in 4.1, my screen isn't working. That's enough, fine. It's probably someone, the Type-C cable's burnt out or whatever happens. We seem to go through a lot of Type-C ports at the moment and broken screens on laptops. But I think that just comes part and parcel with it, right? So I think a few months ago, I thought, oh, we've got really high level of damaged devices compared to what we used to have. And then I'm like, we've also grown by 4 schools compared to where we were X amount of years ago.
In that
so
kind of,
contextual awareness, etc. Like there's loads there.
Well, I think that contextual awareness is really key there, where you're saying, you know, whatever we do for login support, we've got to make it doable and easy in front of the kids in a time pressured environment, in a pressurized environment because of the needs of the people that they're supporting. And one thing that I always say when I'm going in to do a pitch or something like that is 15 minutes of a lesson is actually, you know, a quarter of that lesson gone.
100%.
So if you're running to business SLAs and it's an hour and nobody thinks, oh, that's really good. I'm sorry, it's not for education. It's not good enough. If you sat there in 15 minutes in your lesson and it's gone because it's not working, then that's no good. I think so. Yeah. Do you still have technicians that are timetabled to go to sites then, or do they go where the problems are?
Yeah. So like, and do you know what? That's probably, I know you questioned earlier about, you know, do we ever get sort of any pushback, etc. That's probably the only, like the pushback we've had is like, you got certain head teachers who have always had, say, a timetabled technician. Or always had that. So, Jimmy's going to be here every Tuesday. I keep saying Jimmy, like, we don't have a Jimmy on our team, but we're going with it. But it's like, okay, that's cool. But what happens if everything goes wrong on Wednesday or Monday or you know, so we don't do that. Again, we're really strategic on who's where and when. So sometimes we'll all be in the office together and we'll do like a training day, or we'll just, you know, just to be together, but we can fix most problems via remote help in Intune, etc.
But all that, I think, is getting confidence in that you can do that. You know, people are used to stuff, aren't they? They're used to technicians come regularly. They're used to doing those kind of things. And actually, the very nature of the support that we're delivering now has changed. And it's interesting to touch on what you talked about earlier on, and the fact that you've got 7 tickets, for example, is changing that narrative from can you fix this
100%.
to how can I achieve this? I've got this problem. Can you help me solve it with IT? It's not
Absolutely.
the IT is a problem. That's when you know that you're doing a good job, which is clear to see, you know, with the work that you're doing at your trust, you are. And it sounds such a great team to be part of. So I'm really glad that we've been able to bring that up so that people can see, you know, the really positive side of it. So
and I really appreciate that, and I think like we're doing our best. Now I'm sure you know, if you went and spoke to all of our 600 and something staff, you'd find a few of them who would say, "Oh, actually, ITs." But again, contextual awareness, right? Like I had a like 1-star review on a ticket off someone. Like I'm actually like I would deem a friend in the trust. Just like picked up my phone, and was like, "Dude." And they were like, "You answered my question incorrectly." I was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I gave you a really detailed response. I gave you links to X, Y, Z. Yeah, your answer was really good, but it had nothing to do with the question I asked you." And it turned out I'd just completely read the ticket wrong, gave them a solution for a different problem. And they saw it as a joke, right? So they're like, give them a 1-star, it's funny. But now you've skewed my data up massively. Yes. So I'm like, can I delete this review? Like, is that possible? Like, it's like, you owe me a coffee.
It's like the people who turn around and say thank you, and you're like, they reopen the ticket to say thank you, and you're like, no, please don't reopen the ticket to say thank you, because then it's in my...
What we had on a Tira, which I probably need to add on to Halo, so obviously all the ticket templates, etc. Like on the resolved status one, it's slightly different, and I should probably put like, you know, if this has resolved your ticket, you know, you don't need to reply and say thank you. Submit friendly. Like, we've changed all our templates to try and be friendly. So you submit a ticket and it's like, thanks, you know, here's what happens next, some emojis, you know, why do we need to be really like scary corporate all the time? Let's be like friendly where we can. Conscious of your time, Matt, but there is one thing that I'd love to discuss if you've got,
we've got plenty
a little bit of
yeah,
time.
well,
Yeah, sound.
I mean, run it so nobody can tell me to turn it off earlier.
No, sound. Like, so something that you do a lot more than we do, but I think we do relatively well is that digital transformation piece for cloud migrations. So when a school joins the trust, I only got to do one this summer, which I was really happy about because we did all of ours 4 years ago now. You know, we took when we joined or when we formed the team, we went full cloud, bar access control, caveat, you know, within the first 12 months of being in the trust. So we got really hands-on really quick, did all the messy work. And then we only get to do migrations now when a school joins. And I love it. So I love the, you know, technically, should I be doing that or should my team be doing it? But I love getting hands-on. I'll pick up the impact. Let's do a rack build, etc. I think it's culture, it's values. You know, I'll crawl through that loft space and find out why that random data point is patched in there. So, you know, I like to think I do everything that I ask of my team. Again, we've touched on the reasons why. But, you know, we did really successful migration this summer. I think all, you know, the 4 that we've done since we did the original ones have all been successful. One of them, the first one we did, everything went well until we realized that the cabling in the school was not like, it made no sense. It still doesn't compute. So let's say you've got like A1 on the ball over there. It doesn't go back to A1 in the cab, right? So it goes back to like Echo 15, which is on the tower block next door. Right. That's how rogue, like, so the cabling had been spliced. So it's clear someone at some point has just multi-tooled or ripsawed through a load of cabling. Really? And we just, like, we pulled this one strip of data off the wall. I'm setting the scene if you're listening and there isn't video, I don't know. And it's just like the word, I'll try and find the photo at some point, but this spaghetti of just connected blocks, and we spent about like 2 weeks fluking everything out extra just to try and work out what was going where, rerunning cables, etc. But outside of that, and I wanted to put that caveat in, so I know someone will be listening who will be like, well, actually, you said, but you know, you had this problem. Outside of that, like, all of our migrations get better and better every time. And when we do like a cloud migration, we do everything. So we'll do identity, we'll do device, we'll do network, because there's not been a school that's joined the trust so far that has met DFE standards, digital technology standards. We're all familiar with them. And that's okay because they're not mandatory, you know, yet. I think that's the key thing.
Yeah.
And I think they're really good because I think they've given a lot of people a really good framework. And similar to what you said earlier, when I do audits for schools and help them, I don't go into massive, deep technical architecture because it doesn't really often help with the audits in our environments. But what I do is RAG rate them against DFE standards. Yep. I do go X, Y, and Z. But there's some things that aren't applicable. I don't think, certainly in a primary setting. I think some of the standards, like, okay, I understand why it's written like that for in a secondary school, but like for a primary environment, do we really need that? Could we not have this and we're still 100 times better than most? So we've not had a school that's met those standards yet. And I think that's, again, comes back down to that investment point of view. A lot of them, or pretty much all of them, have had like 2 hours a week of IT support from the local authority. But
they've not
company.
had that strategic element. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Do it because I would imagine your migrations are such a success because of doing that, what I call a big bang migration. And I'd be interested to hear if you've had similar concerns raised, is that people then want to do it stage by stage, little by little, and not enact big change. But I genuinely don't think it works doing that. You're stuck in that hybrid hell, which I always talk about. And you're double paying, you're double managing, you're double backing up, you're double licensing.
Yeah.
And
so
you've got to take that jump. You've got to take that leap of faith.
So we do like an AAR, so like an after action report for every migration we do. Kind of links into like a post-conversion school joining trust AAR. But every time we go, the first time we did all this stuff and we had issues with the cabling, so it's like, maybe we should do less. So the impact was less. And that we did that over the summer. So we were able to fix that original one quite quickly and had the time to do it. But it meant there was still some impact, in September. So that's like, oh, we won't do conversions at certain times, or we'll do it smaller so it's less impact. Brilliant. But then when you break it down, like you've just said, it's like, okay, so we want everyone within our 365 estate because we want to share files and we've got central curriculum and all these central resources and we want to remain secure. So we don't want to over-engineer that solution for loads of external access, because then we're not secure by design in default like we are. We can do a load of stuff to make it like that, but then suddenly we're doing a load of extra stuff to make us be secure again when actually we're where we are now. So we've tried so many times to go, okay, what does that look like? How can we do less? Could we do 365 hit now and do networks later on? It's like, actually we probably can, but what does that mean? It means we probably have to keep a server running, because DHCP runs on the servers instead of a core switch, for example. Like it's all of that sort of stuff. Let's do 365 now, but not in-tune devices. So we still have to keep the server running because, we've got AD, but then we've got to think, okay, how are we going to authenticate on devices if we're not doing in-tune, but we've brought everyone over to our 365 and a new domain or whatnot? It's like, okay, so are we going to do, what's it called now? Is it Enter Connect or something like that?
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about any of that anymore, because we just turn it off and go to. Yeah. But what was it before? It was like AD Connect or something like that. Whatever it was.
Wasn't it AAD Sync or something like that?
I don't know. There we go. But so it's like, do we configure that, and then we probably have some other technical random issues because the domain's been set up for however many years, so we changed this, but then that could.
So where is stuff being stored, because they're going to
Don't even get me started. Like changing the admin password. It's like, we've got to change the admin password, but if we change it, what's going to stop working? It's like folder, what is it? Desktop redirect is always one that seems to, we change the domain password when the school joins and all the shortcuts disappear. Yeah. And it's like, do you know what? You can go 2 weeks without the shortcuts. And then we're going to migrate you. Some of the nesting of permissions and the way some of these domains work blows my mind. And part of that might just be because we've been so far
for so long. Yeah.
Do you lose some of that mentality, or how do we fix this?
I think
so.
Yeah. I don't think you can. Well, I know you can. Do it. Where I've had to do it emergency before, we've had a few that have been cyber attacks and whatever, then generally we'll move all the data first into the cloud and then use something like Cloud Drive Mapper to map it, disable other bits and bobs. But it actually makes it harder for the end user as well. And we both know, if you've got an Intune device or Chromebook, the point is you open it up, you only log in once. You're logged into Edge, you're logged into OneDrive, you're logged into your email, all automatically logged into Gmail, whatever, through that all there as well. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that the impact for the end user isn't actually that big if you've done it right. They still open up a laptop, they still log in using their email address and the password, no different to what they've done before. And their files are still in My Documents. The biggest thing for them, is they can go home and use it exactly as they can use it in school.
And it's secure, right? So we're accessing data securely and not through some crazy RDPS server thing.
And they're 10 times, well, more than that secure. Their devices are, data protection, there's place safeguarding, all those kind of stuff in places. I actually, anybody now where I hear, we're moving to the cloud, but I still regularly meet people who are saying it's a 3 to 4 year project from this point. And I'm like, well, we could do it in a fortnight. So for us, from being commissioned to do a secondary school to delivering it, like you, with all the infrastructure as well, can be in there a couple of weeks. In the primary school, I'm now at the point where our team can confidently do it in term time whilst the school's functioning. And that's obviously, I can flood it with people when I need to, because that's what we're set up to do. And obviously you can do the same. But it's so good to hear that as an early adopter of it, in all senses of it, really, that it's now paying those dividends. And it's great to hear as well that you've had new schools come along and you've been able to quickly integrate them into your trust, because the lifeline that your trust is providing to that school, one of the things that they'll talk about to that school is, well, when you become part of our trust, you become part of our family, you're connected, you can use all these tools. If they don't have the IT connected, they can't be part of that trust.
Yeah. It's like you can walk into a super basic one, like you get a shiny laptop if you're a class teacher, for example. And then when you're part of that curriculum group that you're part of and you're going for a meeting in another school, you go to that school and you can log on.
Yeah.
Straight away, you can connect to do you know what I mean? And like, that's easy for us to enable, right? It's not hard. It's not a challenge. Doesn't happen often for whatever reasons. And it just means that it's so much more seamless. It's a little wins, like signing up, for example. You got the right signing systems in the schools. We don't integrate them so as much as you could do, but again, if we wanted to, you could just click sign in and you'd sign in. I sign in automatically at every school from my phone because it's brilliant. It's all those small wins that when you're in that one ecosystem works really well. And it's easier for me to go full cloud than it is hybrid.
Oh, without a doubt. Absolutely, without a doubt.
We can do so we use Quest on demand for our migrations. Works really well. Pay per user. It's not expensive in my opinion for what you get. And that's basically, you could be cloud to cloud, you could be on-prem to cloud, you could be, I don't know, data center on Mars to cloud. Like there's so many different options within Quest. Like you could literally, and I remember when we did, not the last one, the one before, it was when CrowdStrike had the massive crazy thing. Last year, was it? June, July? It was July. And it was a Friday, I think. And we clicked go. I don't know why I clicked go considering what was going on, but I clicked go. And I went out with my mates. We went to the gym, went for a run, came home, and the migration was done from all the data point of view 4.5 hours later, which then meant on the Monday we came in, we did the network. By the Tuesday of the first week of the half term after some holiday, everything was working. Like they went from Friday being in their old horrible domain setup to Tuesday, end of day,
fully cloud,
being
fully secure.
like any other school. But there is work we do before that. That's the caveat, right?
Yes.
So we don't just start, and that's really. So yes, we are talking crazy timelines here, I think. But we've again put a model in place where we've gone, okay, well, we need to know this. We need to know this mapping. We need to do this, this, and this. But that just comes as part of it. It's not 4 years to migrate.
No.
2,000 users to the cloud. It's not.
No. And I think that skill set that you're bringing in from for that trust now, the hard part is getting them to remember how difficult it was when you hadn't been working like this and before all this was in there. The hard part is for them to remember, I remember when I brought the 4 schools in my original trust together during COVID and doing that remotely, that took a long time because it was the first one that we did and we weren't planning to do it, to the point where we later merged and we brought on additional schools. We merged, we went up to 18 schools. All of those were able to be onboarded quickly. And it got to the point where it was like, well, why is it taking that long? And I'm like, hang on a minute. You've got to remember, we're still doing the same amount of work that we did before. We've just got better and quicker at it. And actually, it becomes expected, which is a lot of extra pressure because things can and do go wrong. But sometimes, I don't know about you, but I always wish to remind people of what it was like before this happened.
Yeah. Again, the conversation from last week, it's really hard sometimes because, we're 7 tickets now, but we weren't 4.5 years ago when we started, 5 years ago almost. I often say I think it was on fire, burning to the ground, because that was my perception of IT all over the place at the time. And it's hard when actually the reality X amount of years later, people have moved on, different leaders in some schools, etc. It's like, yes, we need to fix this problem. I completely agree. Accountability, 100% right. 5 years ago, this would have been like the best problem. You'd be happy to have that problem. So it's hard. And it's hard to continue to iterate at pace as well sometimes, or visibly iterate. So I've done a load of stuff today with like Copilot agents and all of that crazy stuff, which is going to really help what we're looking at doing next. But like, again, 5 years ago, never would have been able to do that because we wouldn't have been able to access the data that the agents are talking to, looking at, etc.
Wouldn't even be in the cloud.
100%. But like, how many, like, we did a cost analysis of like savings, and it's well into six figures on everything. So we did like, because we deliver everything internally as well, which we haven't touched on, so we don't outsource anything. So again, it's like, so how much have we guesstimated that we've saved in professional services fees over the last 5 years? Right, this number. Migration, and then how much would migrations have cost us? How much would have networking cost us? Because, you know, and so on and so on. So we look at the savings. How much have we saved in not replacing servers? We had something like 60 virtualized servers across 9 schools when we started 5 years ago, which is all primary schools as well. So that's, in my opinion, that's a hell of a lot of virtualization for only 9. Do you know what I mean? So we don't have that now.
On it. I don't know whether your figures matched. My general one is, I reckon about $8,000 every 3 years on a new server and backup and
100%.
the hardware.
Yeah.
And then for a secondary school, I'd be easily talking between 25 and 45. For SAN and Hyper-V failover and everything. And now with
and like saying the backup. And like you say, are you going like, so I've not built anything like that for a long time, but like, are we doing hard drives? Are we doing SSD arrays for fast, so on and so on?
Then core switches to manage all the traffic just for that. And then the UPSs for it and everything like that. Yeah.
And can we just say the UPSs are probably going to cause us more issues than they actually prevent?
Yes, you can say that. It's true. And nobody ever replaces the batteries in them. Every school that I've ever been, I remember going into my office on the first day I was a network manager, and I was like, what's that beeping? Oh yeah, the server cabinet's been making that beeping ever since whatever. And I was like, okay, well we're going to pay for some of those batteries now. Yeah,
I've had it when a few months ago I was in school doing an audit, just helping them out. Went into the main comms room, didn't even need to go any further. I was like, right, I don't know what you've got in there, but a battery needs replacing. It's a very familiar set. You don't even look, you're like, your UPS is gone. Anyway, where were we? UPSs, they never get changed. Although Ubiquiti have just dropped some. Have you seen the UPSs they've dropped?
No. Have they? Interesting.
And it fills a really nice gap in their tech stack, I would say.
That's interesting, because I know their latest, what do they call their
campus switching?
Campus ones have dual UPSs in them. No,
and some of,
I think PSUs.
So they've got dual PSUs. Even I think the next, I could be wrong, and I'm saying this on the record, I think the next line down have dual PSUs as well, but I've got a bit confused lately because they seem to be releasing quite a lot of different switched lines. And then like there was a Switch HD line, which I don't know if it's still there, came out, and then I had a load on order but couldn't get them, so I then had to change the order slightly. So you've got like the HD, you've got the enterprise, you've then got the campus switching, which fills the gap for high availability, like officially.
We planned all our works just before they changed them all, and I was like, oh, we can't get hold of these anymore, but luckily they're in stock. And I said to the schools about it, I said, just so you know, somebody might turn around and say to you, these are old. I was like, but trust me, compared to what you had and what you're getting, these aren't old. They're 10 gig, they're 2.5 gig to the APs, they're PoE, they do all that, and actually you're getting them at a bit of a steal because
so I've got it here. So you've now got what we would deem as just normal, like perfectly fine for a primary. Like you've got a Pro Max range, Pro XG range, you've got Pro HD range. So you've got 3 ranges there of just normal, like, 2.5 gig switching, 10 gig switching, or 1 gig, etc. And then you go to, is that the same? No, you've then got a Pro range, which is different to the Pro Max and Pro XG range, right? You've then got the standard range. Don't know what that does.
Pro doesn't have 2.5 gig, but has PoE.
Okay.
Standard doesn't have PoE, doesn't have 2.5 gig, and is only a gig on the SFP. I only know this because I brought the wrong ones recently.
Yeah, brilliant. So we were Pro for a long time because that's all there was for a long time. In the last few years, we've been like Pro Max. I think we've got a few Pro XGs. We were going to go, like I said before, the HDs because you get more 2.5 gig ports, I believe, on those ones. which is great because, again, we've been surrounded now. Our default is Wi-Fi 7 APs because, yes, Wi-Fi 6 is still perfectly fine, but if we're putting something new in for 30 quid extra, I can get exactly.
Because we've got a bit techie there, which some people
Yes.
really enjoy.
Yeah.
Some people will go, "What?"
We've done that at the end as well. We've done that at the end.
We've done it at the end. So hopefully people are still listening. But this is why the standards are so important, because
Agreed.
all that is, you look at the standard and go, well, does that do that? Yes, it does. Then I know I'm buying the right stuff, and you can have a look at across them. It will lead me on to my last two questions, which I ask in every podcast that I've had. And I'm really interested to hear your answer on this one. So the first thing is, what technology have you encountered in education that you hope to never see again?
That I hope to never see. Oh, I've got an answer, but I don't think I can say. I don't know.
Of course you can.
I don't want to like name and shame and then get done by someone or like go missing in the shadows.
Don't worry.
No. I think what technology? I'm not going to answer it. What I was going to answer. I think there's some companies.
Sims. Were you going to say Sims?
No, I actually wasn't. But I think there's several companies who aren't doing good things for education right now, for the wrong reasons. It actually wasn't Sims at all. That wasn't who I was thinking about. But yeah, I think we need to do better. Like, it's public money at the end of the day. I always say it's like, okay, are we spending public money in the right ways, etc. It's our taxes. Most of us aren't going to go and earn millions of pounds in our lifetime. So actually, we need to make sure we're doing the right things now. So yeah, I think this education is sometimes seen as, we can get a load of money out of them. Yeah. Are we like the number 3 or second or third most funded public? I think it's something like NHS education defence is where the money goes. I could be wrong again. Someone can correct me, but like, there's a lot of money in education, and I think a lot of it's taken advantage. If we look at the SEN crisis, I think it's fair to say, within the UK, and the funding issues around that. And it's like, okay, so that money that could be going there or fixing that roof that hasn't not leaked for X amount of years. You've got
to be able to justify it.
Yeah, so that's my sort of way of getting around your question, but yeah.
Well, against the spirit of it a little bit, but we'll accept it because I can understand where you come from completely. And then the final question then is, what are you most excited about next?
For education or in general, or
in your job, education and IT. I don't mean like your dinner in a couple of minutes.
I was going to say, like I'm hungry. No. What am I excited about next? Like, for me, it's more about, I want to see the pace pick up of other organisations, other schools, other trusts getting on the train. As if you remember, I used to bang about this train, and if you're either getting on or you're falling off. It's like, we all need to get on this train and evolve fast. So I'm excited to see where that goes, and I want to see more and more people getting to that baseline, so we don't have to worry about other schools being compromised as much. It's always going to happen, but that's probably our threat vectors, etc. Business email compromise, blah blah blah. Like, just to be in a place where people are taking digital more seriously. I think it's happening. We're seeing it. We're seeing more CDIO roles come up, CTO roles come up in education trusts, directors of IT, directors of digital. However many million titles that we have, they're there, and we're seeing more of them. We're seeing more people join trust boards, which I think is important, who are from an IT background. So they're then, holding us to account from an IT point of view. I think that's really important. I think everyone should go and do that if you're not. So that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see, I'm not going to say AI because I could go on about it for hours, and I don't think that really excites me as much as some of this other stuff right now. I don't think we can do that right until we've done all of this. Like we said earlier, you can have the shiny Mac, but if you've got a really bad internet connection, you ain't going to get the use out of the Mac. So that's what I'm excited for. And I also don't think we know what AI in education can do yet. I think we're a few years away from anything like where it's like, that's what it, and we'll all go, that's what we've been waiting for. And I don't think we've had that.
I'm with you, but I think it's really important that people are trying to find that, and it's as you say,
100%.
The agents today. I still think it's, but I don't think we're there in terms of understanding where the use is. really great, interesting chat, Jack. I could talk to you for
great.
much longer, but I'm just conscious of that the people tend to listen to these things when
Of
they're
course.
driving and stuff
Of
like
course.
that. So
Yeah.
I'm there. Where can people interact with you if they want to find out a bit more about you?
LinkedIn. Yeah,
LinkedIn.
so LinkedIn is probably the best one, and my profile is just Mr. Jack Marshall. So it's like LinkedIn / Mr. Jack Marshall, whatever it is.
Awesome.
So it's nice and easy. And yeah, that's about it really. I think if you want, we should do another one of these, maybe a group one. We talked about that previously.
Yeah,
if we get a few people in. I know a lot of the big podcasts, like Diary of a CEO, Christian Williamson, etc. They've gone to more group podcasts as well. So that could be quite interesting, sort of debate style.
I actually set up 3 of those before
Nice.
to do, but it never materialized. Unfortunately, I had work to do, so
yeah, that'll do it.
I didn't quite get to it, but yeah, absolutely. And just on that now, actually, for those listening, if you would like to see more like that, or you've got any questions for Jack, you can leave a comment on all the podcasts. So you can do that, particularly if you've got Spotify, you can do it through that, but you can do it through other means as well. You can also watch all this through YouTube. So if you've not watched us on YouTube before, you can just look at us talking to each other and see what we see. And yeah, you're not missing anything if you're listening to it audibly, but if you are sat on a computer, by all means do that. And you can do that on Spotify as well. So yeah, just if you want to follow us more, we've got a whole week. I'm doing a podcast every night this week. And then I've got a couple more before Christmas with some really great, interesting people. Jack, you're definitely one of them. I've really enjoyed it. I think this is probably the longest one I've ever done. So,
perfect. Thanks so much.
All good. So yeah, thank you so much for being part of it, and we'll catch up again in the future.
Brilliant. Cheers, Matt. Thank you.